Hello student. So after completion of the pharynx, let's start the next part of the digestive tract, that is the esophagus. In Ayurveda, the esophagus, it is called the Annanalika. Then the definition of the esophagus, it is the narrow muscular tube forming the food passage located between the pharynx to the stomach. Okay? So that is called the esophagus. Then it starts from, or it is extends from the lower part of the neck and the upper part of the abdomen, and the length of this esophagus, that is near about 25 centimeter long. So let's see the detailed structure of the esophagus. So the esophagus in Ayurveda, it is called the Annanalika or the Anna Pranali. So the esophagus, it is the muscular tube forming the food passage present between the pharynx to the stomach. So this narrow tube, it is called the esophagus. Then it is starting, or it extends the lower part of the neck to the upper part of the abdominal cavity. Then during its course, the length of the esophagus, that is near about 25 centimeter long, and it is flattened antero-posteriorly, and lumen of the esophagus is always collapsed. So only during the bolus of the food, when enters into the esophagus, so it should be dilated. Then the pharyngo-esophageal junction means this region where, that is, the pharynx is present, and here from this region the esophagus is start. So it is called the pharyngo-esophageal junction. So this junction, it is the narrowest part of the alimentary canal except the appendix or the vermiform appendix. Okay? Then the starting of the esophagus. So esophagus, it should be start in the neck at the lower border of the cricoid cartilage. So here in the another diagram you can see, this is the pharynx, this upper part, it is called the nasopharynx, this is part the oropharynx, and this part, it is called the laryngopharynx. So it starts from here, the cricoid cartilage, the lower border of the cricoid cartilage, and then it is continue as the esophagus. Okay? It descends in front of the vertebral column. So posteriorly, that the vertebral column is present, and it enters into the thoracic cavity in the superior and the posterior part of the mediastinum, and pierces the diaphragm at the level of T10 thoracic vertebra. So here in this diagram you can see this esophagus that should be enters into the superior and the posterior mediastinum, and then it is enters into that the abdominal cavity at the level of T10 vertebra or the 10th thoracic vertebra, and it ends in the opening into the cardiac end of the stomach at the level of T11 vertebra. Okay, then the curvatures of the esophagus. So in general, the esophagus, it is vertical, but in some region it shows the slight curvature. So the slight curvature, it shows, that is, there are two side curvatures and both towards the left. One is at the root of the neck, and second one, that is near the lower end, and it has also called the curvature of the cervicothoracic spine. So here in this diagram you can see, that is the two curvature of the esophagus. So here in the upper part, it is turned on the left side, and in the lower part it is again turned on the left side. Okay? So that is the two curvature, this upper which is present into the neck region, that turn on the left side, and into the lower part of the esophagus, that should be turned into that the left side. Okay? Then the constriction of the esophagus. So the constriction. So there are four constrictions are present in relation with the esophagus. So for this we should have to see again another diagram. In this diagram you can see, that is the constriction. So first constriction that should be present, the 15 centimeter from the incisor teeth. So here that is the incisor teeth is present, and from this region whenever you count, so that is the first constriction which is present at the 15 centimeter. Then the second constriction, it is crossed by the aortic arch. So here that is the aortic arch is crosses, and because of it should be forming the constriction, and this constriction that should be present near about 22.5 centimeter from the incisor teeth. The third constriction that should be occurs due to the left bronchus. So here that is the left bronchus, and because of this it should be forming the constriction, and the length of that the constriction from the incisor teeth, that is the 27.5 centimeter. Okay? And the fourth constriction that should be present whenever that the esophagus is pierced at the diaphragm. So here that is the right and left crust of the diaphragm, and it should be pierced esophagus into that the abdominal cavity. So here it should be forming that the constriction. So this constriction that is present near about 37 centimeter from the incisor teeth. Okay? So these are the constriction that should be present into that the esophagus. So according to location of the esophagus that should be divided into the three parts. The part of esophagus which is present into the neck region, the part of esophagus which is present into that the thoracic region, and the very small part which is present into that the abdominal region. So let's see the next part of the esophagus. Here now see the relations of the esophagus. So first see that is the relations present into that the cervical region. So this part, that is the cervical part of that is the esophagus. So anteriorly you can see that is related with the trachea. So here you can see white color, so that is the trachea, and to the right side and the left side, that is the right and left recurrent laryngeal nerve. So here black color you can see recurrent laryngeal nerve, this one. Then posterior side, posterior to that the esophagus, that is the longus colli muscle and the vertebral column. Then on each side of the cervical region, it consists of, that is here the corresponding lobe of the thyroid gland. So here into that the larynx, that is the thyroid gland is present. So on left side, that is to the thoracic duct. So here you can see this is the thoracic duct, green color. Then the thoracic part, that is means this lower part, it is related. So anteriorly it is related with the trachea. So same, that is the trachea, then the right pulmonary artery and the left pulmonary artery. So here in this diagram you can see this is the right pulmonary artery. Okay? Then the pericardium, anterior to it, that is the pericardium is present with left atrium, and that is the diaphragm, this one. Then posteriorly same, that is the vertebral column, right posterior intercostal arteries and the thoracic duct. So here you can see this is the thoracic duct. Then the azygous vein, which is the terminal part. So here you can see this is the azygous vein. Then the thoracic aorta. So here you can see that is the descending thoracic aorta. Then right and the left pleural recess. Okay? So here on the left side and here on the right side, that is the pleura is present. So that is the pleural recess are present, and the posterior side, that is the diaphragm is present. Okay? Then on both lateral side, so first we should have to see that is the right side. So right side, that is the right lung and the pleura is present, and then that is the azygous vein and the right vagus nerve. So here you can see this is the vagus nerve, black color. Then to the left side, this one, that side, the aortic arch. So here you can see that is the aortic arch is present to the left side. Then the left subclavian artery. So here this is the left subclavian artery. Thoracic duct. So here you can see that is the green color, the thoracic duct, and the left lung and the pleura. So here that is the left lung and pleura is present, and left laryngeal nerve. So here this one, the left laryngeal nerve is present. So in posterior mediastinum, it is related to the descending thoracic aorta, the left lung and the mediastinal pleura. So in this way, these are the relations related with the esophagus. So after completion of the cervical and the thoracic part of the esophagus, let's see that is the abdominal part of the esophagus. So abdominal part of the esophagus, that is very much short and the length is only the 1.25 centimeter. But this part acquires the great importance as it is the site of portosystemic anastomosis. Then the part of the esophagus means the abdominal part of the esophagus, it enters into the abdominal cavity through the esophageal opening of the diaphragm, and these enter at the level of T10 vertebra and slightly left to that the median plane. The esophageal opening transmits along with that the esophagus, the anterior and posterior gastric nerves, the esophageal branches of leg gastric artery, and accompanies the veins. Then the abdominal part of the esophagus run downwards and to the left side in front of the left crus of the diaphragm. So here it turns on the left side and in front of the left crus of diaphragm, and of the inferior surface of the left lobe of the liver. So here that is the liver is present in this way, and here that is the left lobe of liver is present, and it is end by the opening into the cardiac end of the stomach at the level of T11 vertebra. That means about the 2.5 centimeter left to that the median plane. Then the right border of the abdominal part of the esophagus, that should be ends into that the lesser curvature of the stomach, and the left border, it is separated from the fundus of stomach by a cardiac notch. So here that is the cardiac notch is present. The peritoneum is covered only anteriorly and the left side of this abdominal part of the esophagus. Then as you know, this part, abdominal part of the esophagus, have the clinical importance for the, as it is the site of portosystemic anastomosis, because the veins drains partly into the portal circulation and partly into that the systemic circulation. The veins accompanies, that means the left gastric vein that is drained into the portal vein, and the other vein of the esophagus that is drained into hemiazygos in the thoracic cavity, which is continuous into the superior vena cava through the azygous vein. So the superior vena cava drainage, it is the systemic circulation, and the portal vein drainage, it is the portal circulation. So it is the site of portosystemic anastomosis. The arterial supply of the esophagus, that is the cervical part of the esophagus, which is supplied by the inferior thyroid artery, and the thoracic part of the esophagus, that is supplied by the esophageal artery, which are the branches of the descending thoracic aorta, and the abdominal part, it is supplied by here, that is the esophageal branch of the left gastric artery. So here that is the abdominal part, it gives, that is the two branches, the left gastric artery. Then the venous drainage, the upper part of the esophagus, that should be drained into the brachiocephalic vein. The middle part, it should be drained into this one, it is drained into the azygous vein. So here you can see this is the azygous vein, and the lower end, that is drained into the left gastric vein. So this one here, this is the left gastric vein. Then the nerve supply of the esophagus, the nerve supply of esophagus, that is supplied by the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerve. So the parasympathetic nerve, that is the upper half and the lower half, that is supplied by the recurrent laryngeal nerve and the esophageal plexus, which is formed by the two vagus nerve. And the sympathetic nerve supply, that is the upper half and the lower half. The upper half, that is supplied by the fibers from the middle cervical ganglion, and the lower half, that is supplied by the fibers from the upper thoracic ganglion. Apart from this esophageal plexus, it is formed by the parasympathetic through the vagus, but the sympathetic fibers are also present. So towards the lower end of the esophagus, the vagus fibers form the anterior and posterior gastric nerve, which enter into the abdomen through the esophageal opening of the diaphragm. So here in this diagram you can see that is the nerve supply, that is the right and left laryngeal nerve, these two, and the esophageal plexus, which is formed by right and left vagus nerve. So here you can see that is the right vagus nerve, and this one, that is the left vagus nerve, this one. So these two now, it should be forming the esophageal plexus, which is supply to the esophagus. After then, that is the lymphatic drainage. So the cervical part of the esophagus, that should be drained into the deep cervical lymph nodes. The thoracic part, that should be drained into the posterior mediastinal lymph nodes, and the abdominal part, it is drained into the left gastric lymph nodes. After then, we should have to see that is the histology of the esophagus. So for this, we should have to see the diagram. So here in this diagram you can see that is the histology of the esophagus. So histologically, the esophagus, that is made by the four layer. From inner to outer side, the inner layer, that is made by the mucosa, the second layer, that is the submucosa, third layer, that is the muscular layer, and fourth layer, that is the adventitia. So the mucous membrane or the mucosa, it should be formed by the three layer: the mucous membrane, then the lamina propria, and the muscularis mucosa. So the mucous membrane, that is made by the epithelial lining of the stratified squamous epithelial cell. So here you can see stratified squamous epithelial cell. So this one. Second layer, that is the lamina propria. It consists of the loose connective tissue and the papillae. So here, this one, the lamina propria. And the third layer, that is the muscularis mucosa. So this one. So here you can see the muscularis mucosa. It is distinct in the lower part and formed by the longitudinal muscular fiber. So these are the three layers of the mucosa. After then, that is the submucosal layer. So this one, outer layer. So submucosa, it consists of the mucosal secreting gland of the esophagus. Then the third layer, that is the muscular layer. So the muscular layer, it is made by or composed by the stratified muscle in the upper part, the mixed type in the middle part, and the smooth muscles in the lower part of the esophagus. So outer layer, it is composed of the longitudinal muscular coat, and the inner layer, that is made by the circular coat of the fiber. Then the adventitia, it is made by the connective tissue in the thoracic part of the esophagus. Then the clinical anatomy. So first clinical point related with the esophagus, that is the esophageal varices. So in the portal hypertension, you know that is this lower part of the esophagus, that is the portosystemic communication of the veins. So here, that is the veins present into that the lower part of the esophagus, that should be dilated, and because of the dilatation, when the bolus of food is enters into this region, so these veins are injured, and because of it should be occurs the serious hematemesis or the omitting of the blood. So this part or this clinical condition, it is called the esophageal varices. Then the next clinical point, that is related when the left atrial enlargement occurs in the mitral stenosis. Okay? So because the increasing the size of the left atrium, it should be pressurize the part of the esophagus, and it shows that is the it forming that the shallow depression. So this shallow depression that can be easily identified by the barium Mill X-ray. So this is the depression forming by the enlargement of the left atrium due in case of the mitral stenosis. Okay? And because of this, it can be help for the diagnosis of the carcinoma or the stricture of this esophagus or the achalasia cardia. So that is the second clinical point. Third clinical point, that is the achalasia cardia. So here, so achalasia cardia means that is this lower part of the esophagus that is generally closed, and whenever that is the bolus of food is enters into this part, it should be open. But some neuromuscular coordination, that is the lower end of the esophagus, that is fail to open when that is the bolus of food that should be enters into that the lower part of esophagus, and because of that is this part of the esophagus, it should be dilated. So that is called the achalasia cardia. Okay? Then the next clinical point, the improper separation of the trachea from the esophagus. Here, during the development into the intrauterine life, so it should be forming the tracheoesophageal fistula. So here, the tracheoesophageal fistula. Then the next clinical point, that is the compression of the esophagus in case of the mediastinal syndrome. You know mediastinal syndrome, that the outgrowth should be occurs into the mediastinum, and into that the mediastinum many structures are present. That is the apart from the esophagus, that is the trachea, arch of aorta, the descending thoracic aorta. So different structures are present. So if any outgrowth should be occurs into that the mediastinum, so it should be suppresses the esophagus, and it should be occurs the dysphagia. That means the difficulty into the swallowing. Then the next clinical point, that is the normal identification of the esophagus should be kept in the mind during the esophagoscopy. So here in this diagram you can see that is the scope, it should be passing out from the oral or the nasal route into the esophagus, and during passing that the scope into that the stomach and the esophagus, you should consider that is the constriction of the esophagus. So here there are the 4 constrictions are present, so carefully insert that the scope, and into that the esophagoscopy, that is you can see that is the 4 constriction of the esophagus, and in the esophagoscopy you can see the interior of the esophagus. Okay? And last one clinical point, that is the lower end of the esophagus, means this one, which is the abdominal part of the esophagus. It is commonly prone to the inflammation or the ulceration because of the regurgitation of the acid from the stomach. So stomach that consists of the gastric acid, and because of the regurgitation that acid is goes into that the lower part of the esophagus, and because of the irritation it is occurs the ulcer, and that ulcer may be converted into that the esophageal carcinoma. So these are the clinical points related with the esophagus.